Right, good afternoon. Today we are going to discuss about environmental scanning. So before going to the topic, I want to tell you how environmental scanning connect with strategic management process, strategic management model. So here you can see the strategic management model. The first step is environmental scanning there, then strategy formulation. After doing the environmental scanning, you formulate the suitable strategies and strategy implementation and strategic evaluation and strategic control. So that is the basic model of strategic management strategic management. We say this is strategic management process as well. So the first step is environmental scanning, strategy formulation, strategy implementation and evaluation and control. These are the basic steps of the strategic management process, right? So first you do environmental scanning. It consists of external environmental scanning and internal environmental scanning. So you generally know the environment consists of internal environment is two type, general environment is two type, external environment and internal environment. So before formulating the strategies for an organization, you do first environmental scanning. Basically, first you do an external environment and then you go to the internal environment. So external environment consists of social environment and then task environment. This is the basic categorization according to the strategic management. So when you go through a management book or any other general management book, you will come across different categorization of business environment or organizational environment. For the purpose of strategic management, we identify external environment like this, societal environment and task environment. So first of all, we will do external environmental analysis. Then you do internal environmental analysis to understand the positive factors and negative factors in this environment. So positive factors are called in the external environment are called opportunities. Positive factors in the internal environment are called strengths. Negative factors in the external environment are called threats, and negative factors in the internal environment are called weaknesses. So to identify these things, we do basically environmental scanning. So our lessons are also flowing according to this model. We discuss the lessons under strategic management according to this model. So first of all, we will discuss what environmental scanning is. So why we look at environment? So you all know if the environment is static, if the environment is not changing, you need not to have a closer look at the environment, because the environmental the elements in the environment is not changing. So need not to have continuous analysis of the elements in the environment if the environment is static. But it is not so. Practically you face changing environment. So changing environment sometimes helps the environment and sometimes it is a problem for the environment. So changing environment helps as well as hurt the company. So when the environment is changing, sometimes these changes make us opportunities. These changes in certain cases make us threats. So, it creates new opportunities and sometimes destroy the older ones. And the organization should be in tune with external environment because of these changes. So, organizations should have closer look at, in other terms, organizations should have continuous analysis of these environmental factors, how these factors behave within the environment and how these factors impact on organizational activities. Another term we call strategic fit. Strategic fit is, you all know, there must be a strategic fit between what the environment wants and what the company has to offer. So, the environment consists of different parties. Maybe we will take for an example customers, we will take for an example government. So, these are environmental factors. So, these environmental factors want different things from the company. And also company has to offer these requirements from the environment. So, environment made us requirements. Environment requests different things from us. So, then company has to fulfill these requirements. So, the company has to offer these things to the environment. And what the environment need and what the company need and what the environment can provide. Again, there is another direction, another relationship. So, company require different things from the environment and environment provide us these requirements. So, two-way relationship is there with the company and the environment. So, environment asks us different things. We offer these things to the environment. Again, opposite of that, the company require different things from the environment and environment offer these things to the company. So, two-way relationship is there with the environment and the company. So strategic fit is fulfilling these requirement of both parties together and have a good fit between these two parties. If the environment asks us new product, the company should offer the new product. So, then the fit is good at that moment. Again, company require certain thing from the environment offer these things to the company. Then if these relationships are fine matching, then we say it is strategic fit. Nature of the current environment. This is the nature of the current environment. So, dynamic changes are there in the environment. Predictions are difficult and organizations become uncertain. So, this is the nature of today's environment. So, we all face changes. Changes are dynamic. So, there are changes happening. These happenings are also dynamic. Today the happening cannot be predicted tomorrow. So, that much of dynamism exists in the environment. Because of this dynamism, predictions are very difficult. So, we can't predict what will happen tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So, these predictions are very difficult and organizations become uncertain due to this dynamism. So, the organization cannot say what will happen to the organization within next 2-3 months. That much of uncertainty because of these changes. Then what is uncertainty? Uncertainty is the degree of complexity the degree of complexity, that is uncertainty. The degree of changes around these factors. So uncertainty is first thing is the degree of complexity. In other words, number of factors in the environment. Say, for a company, when the company looking at the environment, they can observe only 2-3 elements in the environment. The relative, the affecting factors. Environmental factors are the affecting factors. So the company can observe only 2-3 factors as the affecting factors in the environment. And in certain situations, the companies can observe that more factors affecting around in the environment. Number of factors around the environment. Sometimes we face 2-3 factors, we can observe only 2-3 factors in the environment. Sometimes we observe that there are many factors around the environment affecting on us, right? It determines the uncertainty. So when the affecting factors in the environment are smaller, the uncertainty is low. When the number of factors around surrounding us is small, few, when the number of factors are few, uncertainty is low. When the number of factors are many, you have many number of factors, then uncertainty is high. Because for example, say myself has so many related parties, then I can't be sure about what will happen to me, because there are many more affecting factors surrounding me. On the other hand, I have only 2 factors surrounding me, then I can easily predict what will happen to me, because there are only 2 people that will influence on me. Then uncertainty is low when the number of factors in the environment is smaller, few. The degree of change around these factors, the other determination, another criteria to determine the uncertainty. The degree of change around these factors. If these factors are highly changing, then again I am uncertain. Uncertainty is high. There are many more factors surrounding my company. There are many more factors surrounding our company, and all these factors are changing rapidly. So then uncertainty is very high. So in determining the uncertainty, there are 2 criteria. One is number of factors in the environment and the degree of change of these factors. So uncertainty is the degree of complexity and degree of change. Complexity is number of factors, changes, concurrent changes around of these each factor. So environment uncertainty is a threat to the strategic manager. Environmental uncertainty is a threat because they can't predict the behaviors of the environmental elements, because it hampers the ability to develop long range plans and organizational equilibrium. So uncertainty is not good for the health of the organization, because it affects the long range planning, and also again it affects the organizational equilibrium. Environmental uncertainty is an opportunity sometimes. Since it creates a company, a new playing field in which creativity and innovation can play a major role. So, environmental uncertainty is a threat in a certain situation because it affect the long range planning and organizational equilibrium. And on the other hand, environmental uncertainty is an opportunity for an organization. It is positive for an organization because it creates certain changes around the organization, around the company, and it creates some new opportunities. Because of this environmental uncertainty, you can identify, companies can identify opportunities for playing their, for their innovations and creativity, because they can understand new gaps in the market. They can understand new opportunities in the market, and they can fulfill these opportunities, gaps through innovation and creativity. So, the environmental uncertainty is a better place for creativity and innovations. Once the environment is changing, it creates you opportunities. It creates you opportunities. So, then your creativity, innovation has a value because of this uncertainty. Clear? So, for understanding the environmental, the behaviors of these organizational environmental factors, we basically do environmental scanning. So, the action for understanding the behavior, of these factors is called environmental scanning. So, environmental scanning is the monitoring, evaluation and dissemination of information from the external and internal environments to key people in the organization. So, monitoring, evaluation and dissemination of knowledge from the external and internal environments to key people. So, the two key people are the strategic managers or the top managers. So, monitoring, evaluation and dissemination of information about this environment to the top people of the company. So, that is, you do environmental scanning for collecting information and disseminating this information to the key parties of the company. So, the whole task is called environmental scanning. The whole task is called environmental scanning. So, for the purpose of scanning the environment, at the start of this session, I said you two types of environment exist for company. For a company, for a firm, the environment can be segregated into two: external environment and internal environment. So, external environment basically consists of natural environment, social environment and task environment. Basically, natural environment, societal environment or social environment and task environment. So, natural environment, you have physical resources in the natural environment, wildlife and climate are the part of the natural environment. Basically, these factors also can have an impact on organizational activities. So, physical resources, wildlife, climate are the part of the natural environment. So, the business people perceive it is given to exploit. That is a very unethical thinking. So, we normally think that the natural environment is to exploit, not to conserve. So that is basic thinking of the business people. So they are free resources. So they are free resources. So then they are to be used. Not only to be used but to exploit. So once they are controlled, they become asset. So these natural resources, physical resources, wildlife, these are, if you put some value, if they are controlled, this becomes assets. Otherwise, if there is no control over these resources, they are called free resources. So if they are controlled, if they are given some limitation, if they are given some value, they become asset. Then you put these things into your balance sheet as assets. If they are not given a value, if they are not priced, they are free resources. Right? So timber, when timber is at the forest, it is a free resource. Right? If this timber is taken and put a price, then it becomes an asset. Right? If you consider the water, if the water is naturally exist in a lake or a river, it is called a free resource. If you bottle this water and put it in a value, put a value on it, stick value on it, and it is called an asset. So if you put some control over free resources, free physical resources, then it is called an asset. So natural environment consists of these free resources. The thing you should keep in your mind is these free resources are not to exploit but to conserve. Then societal environment has these elements: economic forces, technological forces, political and legal forces, and socio-cultural forces. These are the elements in the societal environment. So economic forces, for example, so there are economic factors: inflation, pricing, price levels, employment rate, so the interest rate, all are economic forces. Then technological forces, so different types of technological improvements there. Political and legal forces, political activities, party activities, different political campaigns and legal reforms, legislations. Then socio-cultural forces are also there in the societal environment. So economic forces regulate exchange of material, money, energy and information. So those come under economic forces. Then technological forces. So if you look at, it is a general, now it generates problem solving invention. So computer technology, digital technology, nanotechnology and also biotechnology. So you have the improvements in these relevant technologies and improvements and the changes in these technologies. So gene manipulation is a technological trend in biotechnology. So this is one. George Washington University has identified number of technological breakthroughs including these. So because of these technological improvements, you come across organizations face these changes around them. So firms have to think of these technological breakthroughs in formulating strategies. So, portable electronic devices and electronic networking, even this course, because of this environment, technological breakthrough, we are able to have online courses. So, you can have virtual connections, virtual teams, virtual organizations, electronic networking due to these technological breakthroughs. Then alternative energy sources, again, now you have you can get the support of nanotechnology for as an alternative energy. So, different energy sources are also discovered due to these technological breakthroughs. Precision farming, again agro industry also influenced by the technological breakthrough. So, harvesting, preservation of foods, and also different farming, different things also occurring in agro industry, again because of technological breakthroughs. Virtual personal assistants, genetically altered organisms, and smart mobile robots, all these things are different technology changes happens among us, around us, because of these technological changes. So, then political and legal forces, another factor under societal environment, political and legal forces. So, power relationships. So, power relationships are under the political and legal forces. It is a particular type of element happening around our environment, in the environment. Labor laws, regulation relating to starting a business, trade agreements, tariff rates, etc., all are political and legal forces in the societal environment. Then socio-cultural forces like values, this should be morals and customs of society. Values, morals and customs of society. Demographic trends, population trends. Now you witness that there are different trends in the population now. So the portion of females are increasing in the population than males. Portion of elders are increasing in the population than earlier. So different populational trends are there. You can witness these things. And increasing environmental awareness, another socio-cultural factor. We are so much aware of environment. We are acting on environmental conservation. So much of awareness about our natural environment. So the environmental campaigns are taking place. So it is another socio-cultural force working around us. Growing health consciousness, again another trend in the socio-cultural forces, socio-cultural force. Growing health consciousness, expanding senior market, again expanding senior market, that means because of the elder generation in the population, senior market. So when you are producing a product, you can think of these trends, you should think of these trends in the socio-cultural environment as socio-cultural forces. Impact of generation E and Y. So you know now we are working with generation E and Y, generation Y and generation E. So generation Y are the so look at this. These are the different names. We call these different generations. So the generation who are born between 1932 to 1945, during this period, who are born during this period are called silent generation. Then the people who are born between 1946 and 1964 are called baby boomers. So baby boomers are the people who are born after Second World War. So generation S, silent generation, are born after the Second World War. So they are called silent generation. The people who are born immediate after the Second World War are called baby boomers. Then generation X is tagged for people who are born 1965 to 1977. So most of the working force in the world belongs to generation Y now. So baby boomers are now getting retired. Baby boomers are now getting retired. The majority of the people belongs to, the labor force belongs to generation X and generation Y. So myself belongs to generation X, right? So most of you either belongs to generation X or generation Y. So, and again generation E also there. So they are not in the labor force, but they are in the society. So the people, the children who have born after the 1995 to 2005, 2010 are called generation E, E generation. So electronic generation with the technology of electronic technology. Generation who have born with the electronic technology are called E generation. So now our children belongs to generation E, right? So generation X, Y, E are in the society today. So exist in today's society, in the environment in other sense. So you have to look at impact of generation Y, E and X again. So you have to look at the impact made on the society, how they behave, how they work. And declining mass market, another force. Declining mass market is another force today we are facing. What is mass market? Mass market is we produce similar product as mass products, put it into the market, mass market. So similar products together and put it into the market. But now that mass market concept is declining. Mass market concept is declining, and instead of mass market you face now mass customization. That is mass customization. The producers have to customize their products according to the needs of each and every customer. Mass customization. So customization is happening at a mass scale. So that is the producers, firms have to offer their product or the service customized according to the needs and requirements of each and every customer separately. So highly complex. The task is highly complex, but you have to have that, you have to follow this technology, mass customization, because customers' requirements are identified as important. You have to have separate set of requirements relating to a computer. For a same product, your requirement is different from yours. This one's requirement is different from someone else. So then each one's requirement is different for a particular product. So then the producers have to have a range of products which are customized according to the each and every customer. That is called mass customization. So these trends are taking place in the societal environment as socio-cultural forces. Then changing the pace and the location of life. Again, it is another happening around us, among us. So change in the pace and the location of life. So our birth has taken place some place and we live in some other place. And our children are again staying in somewhere else. And our parents are staying somewhere else. Due to certain job requirements, due to some other requirements in our life, our place that we are located in different places. So change in the pace and the location of life. So these things happen with us, among us. And changing household composition. So in your house, in your home, your composition is changed. You know, in a traditional family, you have your parents, and also you have your grandparents living with you, and also you have your children, grandchildren, and like you have a particular set of traditional family earlier. But now the household composition also got changed. So sometimes in the same family, mother is living in some other place due to certain reasons. So father is running the family, and the children are sometimes living with mother, and sometimes you can observe that the dual the mother and the father both are working. So the household composition got changed. Increase in diversity of workforce and the market. Again, market is also diversified. Different types of customers in the market. For example, due to this diversified market, mass customization comes. Because for a particular same product, we say a desktop computer, the requirements are different. Regarding a particular same product, requirements are different. The customer taste, requirement, wants, their requirements are different. So the producers have to customize the same product, adding certain features and deleting certain features. With some differentiations, they have to meet the requirements of the customers. So increase in diversity in the workforce and the market. So market diversity is there, and again labor force diversity is again happening. Because of labor force diversity is happening because of globalization. So because of globalization, I am saying globalization is removing boundaries. When you becomes globalized, you have no boundaries, the whole world become one world. So no economic boundaries, no religion boundaries, no cultural boundaries, the whole world become one world when you become globalized. So that is both world, frontier, beyond frontiers. So then if you are in a globalized world, you will have diversity among everyone, because there are no clusters, there are no groups, but the group boundaries are broken. The group is spread over the world. So then diversity is there in the environment, diversity is there in the world. So different people are working in the same world, different people exist in the same world, differentiations are there among workforce. So then it is an opportunity, diversity is an opportunity for companies, because you can pick anyone from the labor market, because no restrictions, no labor laws, no boundaries, no cultural limitations, everyone is in the same society. You can pick whatever the skill for your company from the diversified workforce. This is the generational differences. So these are the variables, these are the elements in the societal environment further. So GDP trends, interest rates, money supply, inflation rates, unemployment level, price controls, devaluation or revaluation, energy availability and its cost, disposable and discretionary income. So these are the elements or variables in the economic environment. And likewise, you have different elements in the technological environment, political and legal environment, and socio-cultural environment, as I discussed. So for your further reference, you can use this to identify the variables in the societal environment. So then task environment. The other segment in the external environment is task environment. Elements or groups that directly affect the corporation and are affected by it. Task environment has direct relationship with the firm. Task environment has direct relationship with the firm. But societal environment has indirect impact on the firm, indirect relationship with the firm, but the task environment has a direct effect, right? And also company is affected by task environment and company affect the task environment, two-way affect this, the nature of effect working two-way. The company affect the environment, environment affect the company, right? Directly affect the corporation and are affected by the corporation. The elements in the task environment are government, local communities, suppliers, competitors, customers, creditors, employees, social interest groups and trade associations, etc. So all these elements included in the task environment. So they have direct impact on the organization or the firm, and the firm can have direct impact on these elements: government, local communities, suppliers, competitors, customers, creditors and etc. So industry analysis is the term we give under strategic management for analyzing the industry, in analyzing the industry. This is the term we give attached for analyzing the industry. It is one of a task, you do under environment, external environmental analysis, part of the external environmental analysis, industry analysis, right? It is a part of the external environmental analysis, industry analysis. It is the term we call for analyzing the industry behaviors. So it is in-depth examination of key factors within the corporation's task environment. Corporation's task environment. So industry analysis is the in-depth examination of factors within the task environment. Now the task environment consists of different parties called government, customers, suppliers, different interested groups, trade associations and etc. So, if you do an analysis on these factors, it is called industry analysis. It is a part of the environmental scanning. Understood? So, if you refer this diagram, you can understand different types of analysis you can do under environmental scanning. Analysis of societal environment. So, you do interest group analysis, you do community analysis, you do market analysis, competitor analysis, supply analysis, government analysis, different types of analysis you do. But if you do analysis of your task environment, it is called industry analysis. It is called industry analysis. So, identifying external strategic factors. So, it is important to choose which factor is or which factors are important and which factors are not. So, you know basically in the environment different factors are acting, different factors are there. So, we know practically all these factors around us will not have an impact on us. There are some factors that can affect on the cooperation and there are some other factors, they have no impact over my cooperation, over the cooperation. So, first of all, you should have understanding about strategic factors, factors which have an impact over the corporation's activities. Though it is important to choose which factors are important and which are not important. In this exercise, managers undergo strategic myopia. Strategic myopia. Strategic myopia is called willingness to reject unfamiliar as well as negative information. So, it is a bad practice. Strategic myopia is a bad practice. It should be avoided. As a strategic manager, you should avoid strategic myopia because you reject some unfamiliar and negative information. You should not do this thing because this negative information and unfamiliar things are also important, right? When you are selecting strategic factors, you should not reject unfamiliar and negative factors. Negative factors are also of importance. Unfamiliar factors are also of importance. So, you have to look at the important factors in the external environment, that is called strategic choice. Strategic choice. Strategic factor. They are called strategic factors. When you are identifying the strategic factors, you should not undergo strategic myopia. Anything you want to ask about that? Strategic myopia. You should not undergo strategic myopia because the unfamiliar and some negative information are also important in identifying strategic factors. So, corporate practice is like this. So, you know, among corporations, in the business world, these things are happening. So, massive write-downs and restatements of profits. So, these practices are happening in industry, in the business world. So, massive write-downs and restatements of profits. So, these are malpractices. And also misclassification of expenses as capital expenditure. Again, it influences your profit, it impacts on your profit. So, these are malpractices in corporate environment. So, misclassification of expenses as capital expenditure. Some some expenditure are categorized as capital expenditure. Pirating corporate assets for personal gain, again malpractice. In organizations you do these practices, so these are not, should not be done. So, in practicing these things, you are unable to understand the strategic factors, the more important factors in the environment. Industry is the group of firms that produce a similar product or service. Industry is the group of firms producing similar products or service. So, Porter's model is, in analyzing the industry, Michael Porter developed a model. In analyzing the industry, Michael Porter developed a model called 5-factor model. 5-factor model. It is called Porter's 5-factor model. So, in this Porter's model, if you can have a closer look at this diagram, you have potential entrants. You have potential entrants, then buyers, suppliers, substitutes and other stakeholders. So, they are the 5 forces according to the Porter's model. So, there are 5 forces: potential entrants, suppliers, buyers are the customers, and substitutes. So, from all these 5 forces exert some power over the industry. So, industry consists of you and other competitors. Industry consists of you and your competitors. Industry consists of your company and other competitive companies, right? So, these forces make a power over you and your competitors. Who are these forces? Potential entrants, new companies entering into the market. Potential entrants means new companies who are entering into the same industry. So, they are making a power over you and your competitors. Then buyers. Buyers also have a power. So, bargaining power. Buyers have the bargaining power. So, they, through their bargaining power, make a power over you and your competitors. Then substitutes. Again, substitutes also putting some threat over you, the threat of substitutes products and services. So, substitutes also make a power over you and your competitor. And suppliers also have a power. So, they have again bargaining power as customers. So, suppliers sometimes do not like to provide you supplies for existing prices. So, they will bargain over the prices of supplies. For example, say electricity board say no, we will increase the price of the unit. We have to increase the prices of electricity units. So they have bargaining power. They have bargaining power. Customers also have bargaining power. No, no, we can't afford this price. Customers also will say, no, we can't afford this price. So customers have bargaining power, suppliers have bargaining power, potential entrants have power, and substitutes also have power, and other stakeholders have also relative power. Unions, governments, special interest groups also have some level of power over the industry. So industry consists of rivalry among existing firms, you and your competitors. So in analyzing the industry, you can use this model and identify how each of these parties make a pressure over your actions, over your company. This is one of a model you can use. So rivalry among existing firms. So when you consider the rivalry among existing firms, you can consider these factors. Number of competitors in the market. Number of competitors in the market determine the rivalry. Nature of, level of or degree of rivalry. Rate of industry growth. Rate of industry growth. Product or service characteristics. Amount of fixed costs. Capacity. Height and exit barriers. Height of exit barriers and diversity of rivals. So these are different determinants to determine the power among existing rivalries, power of the industry or the the degree, the power of the competition, the rate of the competition in other terms. Number of competitors, rate of industry growth, product or service characteristics, amount of capacity, all these things. Then threat of substitutes products or services, bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, then relative power of other stakeholders, all are making a pressure on the industry. So threats of new entrants. So threats of new entrants in terms of economies of scale, product differentiation, capital requirement, switching cost. So these are the ways of putting power over industry by the new entrants, putting power over industry by the new entrants. So economies of scale, for example, the company, our company or the industry average is, economies of scale, industry average is say 70. If you quantify the economies of scale, the industry average is 70. But if a new company can maintain economy scale as 25, they have the advantage. The industry average is 70, but the new company can maintain economy scale as 25. Right? So then there will be a threat from new entrants. Product differentiation. Again, the company has a different range of product. Within the company, the product differentiation is such. But the new entrants can have another type of differentiation and can have an impact on the industry with new differentiations. Again, capital requirement, switching cost. All these things are different angles of making pressure over the industry by the new entrants. So, based on the current trends of these forces, so based on these forces, 5 forces, based on the current trends of these 5 forces, whether sometimes high or low or medium. So, sometimes the pressure of the new entrants will be high. The pressure of the bargaining power of the customers will be high sometimes, or sometimes medium or low. The influence level of competitive intensity is continue or will continue based on the power of these 5 forces. Within the industry, the competitive intensivity will continue or stop. So, if the 5 forces are stronger than the industry, if the 5 forces power is higher than the industry, then the industry will collapse. The competitive intensity will be collapse. If these pressure of 5 forces are higher than the industry. Understood? You got the idea? If the pressure 5 forces, when the pressure of these 5 forces are higher than the industry average, right? So, if you look at this diagram, so the potential entrants, buyers, bargaining power of buyers, threats of substitutes, bargaining power of suppliers, and relative power of other stakeholders are higher. So, then the company, within the company, competitive intensiveness is very low. It will be a problem. Industry will collapse. Competitive intensity is in a problem. Competitive intensity is in a problem if these 5 forces are highly stronger. If these 5 forces are highly stronger, competitive intensity is problem. Sometimes will continue or will collapse. Sometimes will continue or collapse. If the power of these 5 forces are low, competitive intensities can be continued. Then problem of impact on cooperation. So, how you identify the high priority elements and low priority elements in the environment, in the task environment. This is another way to identify the factors, right? So, the 5-factor model is that. So, based on the 5-factor model, you can understand the pressures of these 5 factors over the industry, right? This is another way how you can understand the factors influencing on your company, based on the impact of cooperation and impact of occurrence, on occurrence. Then based on this model, based on this scale, you can understand what are the high priority elements and what are the medium priority elements and what are the low priority elements in the external task environment in the industry. So, by putting into this model, by fixing your variables into this model, you can understand the priority of each of these elements in the task environment. Understood? So, then for example, say probable impact on cooperation, high impact For example, say there is an element in the task environment, say a supplier. Within the task environment, you have a supplier. The impact on the corporation of this supplier is very high, and this probability of occurrence. So, this impact occur every time, often. This impact occur often. Then that particular supplier is highly important. The particular supplier is given high priority as a strategic factor in the task environment. You can identify that particular supplier as a strategic factor because the supplies happens occurrence. Supplies happens often, frequently, and also the impact is also high. So, based on the impact and the probability of the occurrence, you can prioritize the importance of all these factors in the task environment. Then industry evolution. Industry evolution. Industry evolution is industry life cycle is important to explain and predict the trends among these 6 forces, right? So, basically industry, if you consider an industry evolve in a particular way, an industry evolve in a particular way. There is a life cycle for an industry. There is a life cycle for an industry. So, say industry life cycle is important to explain and predict the trends among these forces. For example, say industry, 2 types, fragmented industry and consolidated industry. You have fragmented industry and consolidated industry. So, fragmented industry is no dominant industry. So, in a fragmented industry, there is no dominant party in the industry, no dominant industry. It is not a dominant industry. So, fragmented, for example, say it is, take the meaning of this word fragmented, no domination in the industry, no domination in this, no one dominating within the industry, no one is dominating, the industry is fragmented, right? Consolidated industry is dominated by a few firms, dominated by few large firms. So, it is called consolidated industry, right? In a fragmented industry, companies perform separately, and all are similar in scale, all are similar in strength, all are similar in investment, and no dominating company in the industry, industry is fragmented, no domination. But consolidated industry, there are few companies dominating in the industry, there are few companies, they are the major players, few large companies. So, the strength of the task environmental factors varies according to the company evolution stage, right? If the industry is fragmented, the forces, the pressure from these forces is different from dominant industry. How they impact is different. The how the forces impact on these industries different based on the stage of the evolution. Stage of the evolution. So it is also to be considered. So another way how you can understand the influence over these forces based on the international industries, based on the international industries. So you have multi-domestic companies and global companies, multi-domestic companies and global companies. So in multi-domestic companies, you are doing very basic activities. You are doing basic activities in multi-domestic companies, right? Industry in which companies tailor their products to the specific needs of the customers in a particular country. So you are working in a local market. You are doing your businesses in the local market. Your business activities are not complex. And global market, you are working in a working in a differentiated market. Your business activities are complex. Industry in which companies manufacture and sell the same product with only minor adjustments made for individual countries around the world. So global companies, you produce your product to the whole market around the globe. So based on the continuum of internationalization, these forces, the pressure from these forces are different. For example, say for a domestic company, the pressure from these forces are different from a global company. For a global company, the pressure from these the task environmental forces are different than domestic company. So the global company face severe competition. Global companies face stronger pressure than the multi-domestic company. So based on the continuum of internationalization of these industries, again the pressure from these forces is different. The pressure of these forces is different, right? How the suppliers act on a company, differ from domestic to global. How a supplier act on a global company is different from how a supplier pressure on a local company. How a customer pressure on a global company is different from how a customer pressure on a local company. The level of this pressure of these forces is different based on the continuum of internationalization. Understood? Then strategic grouping. It is another activity you do for understanding the task environmental influences. Strategic groups. Strategic groups are the groups or the business units or the firms that pursue similar strategies and similar resources. They are the strategic groups. For example, say if there are firms have similar strategies, following similar strategies, similar resources are taken together and call them a strategic group. Say among the universities, all the government universities can be taken as together and say a strategic group. all the private universities can be taken as together and say another separate strategic group, because all the government universities have similar strategies, similar resources. So, when you come into the education industry, you observe government universities and private universities. So, then when you are understanding the task environment of this task environment, you can use this strategic grouping. So, you can segregate some factors, based on some factors you can understand, you can categorize some factors as strategic groups based on their similarity. So, there are strategic groups within your task environment. You can understand different forces based on strategic grouping. Strategic grouping. Understood? Categorizing firms into a set of groups is useful in understanding competitive environment. For example, say in the powder milk industry, look at powder milk industry. So, then you can have categorize strategic groups. Competitors can be categorized as strategic groups. Those who are importing powder milk and distributing, those who are importing powder milk from New Zealand is a particular type of strategic group. Those who are importing powder milk from Netherlands, those who are manufacturing powder milk within the country. So, then you can categorize different people, different companies, different competitors into strategic groups based on their similarity in strategies or similarity in resources or whatever the similarity. So, it is another way of understanding your competitors. So, this is one of an illustration. So, based on the price and the product's length, line length, you can categorize different competitors as strategic groups. Then strategic types. In analyzing the level of competitive intensity, in analyzing the level of competitive intensity within the industry, the strategic type is again important. So, strategic type is important in understanding the competitive intensity. Strategic type, like strategic grouping. So, strategic type is the category of firms based on common strategic orientation. So, and combination structures, cultures and processes. So, look at, there are different strategic types. So, based on the strategic type, you can categorize your competitors, you can categorize your suppliers based on the strategic type. So, there are defenders. Based on the strategy called defenders, you can understand different types of people, different types of competitors or suppliers or other firms. Defenders, prospectors, analyzers and reactors. So, defenders have limited product line that focus on improving efficiency and existing. So, defenders have very limited product line, very narrow product line. they are called defenders. For example, say in the powder milk industry, you can have defenders. Defenders have limited product line, only powder milk and fresh milk. Very narrow product line. There are companies, if there are companies producing only packeted powder milk and fresh milk, they have two products in their line, right? Limited product line that focus on improving efficiency in their existing operations. Very limited product line, 2-3 products in their line, they are called defenders. And prospectors, fairly broad line. They have fairly broad line that focus on product innovation and market opportunities. So there will be some, there are firms that are having fairly broader product line, say powder milk, fresh milk, butter, cheese and other consist of some other products. So they are called prospectors. They every time engage in innovation and looking at market opportunities. Low product line people look at only efficiency. Low or limited product line people, limited product line companies. But broader product line companies look at innovations and look at the possibilities of making their product line broader through their innovations. Then analyzers operate in at least 2 different product area or market areas. So while having powder milk products and also they have some other product, tea and powder milk. So they have at least 2 different market or product line, So for example, say analyzers operate in at least 2 different products or markets. While engaging in powder milk, they engage in tea market or tea business, right? So they are called analyzers. One stable and one variable. So one market is stable or one product line is stable and the other product line is varies. In stable, efficiency is emphasized and in variable, innovation is emphasized. So they are analyzers. They do different activities in their product lines because they have 2 different product lines. They are called analyzers. Reactors, they have no consistency in strategic structure. They are called reactors. Only different relationships are there but no consistency in their strategic orientation. No consistency. Different strategic actions they follow. No consistency. Right? Based on the strategic type, you can understand your competitors. You can analyze your competitors based on the strategic type. Whether the defenders, whether the prospectors, whether the analyzers or whether the reactors. So based on the strategic type, another way of understanding your competitors based on the strategic type. Then however you do this analysis using the Porter's model, using the internationalization continuum, using the industry evolution stages, whatever the method you do, you collect information about the industry. You collect information about the task environment. It is the exercise of collecting information about the task environment. So you do this collection of information or gathering information through business intelligence. This is the term we use for gathering information from companies, competitors, from the task environment. Business intelligence is the term we use for collecting information from your task environment. So, using the business intelligence, you collect information for analysis. You collect information about your task environment for analysis, environmental analysis. This is the tool you use, business intelligence. Then you collect information about your task environment for environmental scanning. Then you forecast. You collect information about the future, past, how these elements behave in the past. It is how you collect information how they have behaved in the past. What their behavior about the past behaviors. And based on the past behaviors, you should be able to forecast the future behaviors of these elements in the task environment. So, in the task environment, you should collect past behaviors of these forces, past behaviors of these factors in the task environment through the business intelligence. You collect information using these models, 5 forces model, internationalization continuum or priority metrics. Based on these theories, based on these models, you collect information about task environmental variables through the business intelligence. For the purpose of forecasting their behavior in future. For the purpose of forecasting the behavior of these task environmental factors in future. So, you have to forecast the future behavior using the past information. So, these are the forecasting techniques. These are the forecasting techniques you use for understanding or identifying the future behaviors of the elements in the task environment. How these elements behave in future, how these elements affect on our corporation, on our firm in future by using forecasting techniques. So, there are different types of forecasting techniques. Extrapolation, brainstorming, expert opinion, Delphi technique, statistical modeling, scenario writing. So, these are different forecasting techniques. Extrapolation means you extrapolate. So, for example, say if someone is moving at the speed is 70, moving at speed level of 70, then you can forecast, extrapolate the speed of the change in future using extrapolation technique. Brainstorming means using the experts' ideas. Using the ideas of the experts, you can forecast how these factors behave in future. Using the ideas of the experts. Then again, expert opinions, it is also similar, expert opinion. Then Delphi technique, again through discussions. Delphi technique is having discussions with different expertise, again another method for forecasting future happenings. Delphi technique, discussions. Another one, using statistical models. You can have trend analysis. You can do certain structural equation modeling to forecast how these factors behave in future. And scenario writing, it is another technique. You write different scenarios relating to each of factors. For example, say during the period of 1978, economic factors behave in this way. During the period of after 5 years, same scenario happened. Then after another 5 years, again the similar scenario happened. So then you can forecast in another 5 years, this scenario happens in this way. So by looking at the happenings in the past and analyzing these scenarios, you can forecast what will happen in future. So these are the ways of forecasting future happenings, how these task environmental factors, in other terms industry, behave in future using the forecasting techniques. Then finally, this is the outcome of the whole process. This is the outcome of the whole process. So at the end of the industry environmental scanning, industry analysis, you can prepare this table. So you can understand the opportunities and threats in the external environment through this analysis, what we have discussed, based on the priorities, based on the behaviors, based on their respective behaviors, you can understand whether they are opportunities or threats. And you can give them weight. You can give them weight. This opportunity can be weighted as 2. This opportunity can be weighted as 1.5. So altogether should be similar to 1 total scores. You can give the weight. The actual ranking, based on the importance, you can rank rate these opportunities and threats, and multiply in the actual situation and your importance or given weight, and you can have the weighted score. And finally, you will end up with some quantified value for your external environmental threats and opportunities. You will end up with this exercise with the quantified value. You can give some value for the external environmental opportunities and threats. This is how you do external environmental analysis. This table is called external factor analysis statement or external factor analysis summary or matrix. Anything you want to clear about this? The online users, the online participants, do you have anything to clarify? Right. So without having a break, we continue and we'll stop here.